Admin Tech Crash Course. My name is Julie Perrine. I'm the founder and CEO of All Things Admin, and we're very pleased you're joining us for today's presentation. The Admin Tech Crash Course is a technology-focused training program for busy professionals, and our goal with each session is to create a crash course on the relevant technology topics you need to stay current on the technology and software that you use each day so you can be more productive and proficient in everything you do. Our crash course topic today is Save Document Creation Time in Microsoft Word with Styles, Themes, and Templates. And it's being presented by one of our favorite award-winning certified technology instructors, Donna Gilliland. And Donna is also the president of Most Training. If you haven't met Donna yet or attended one of her sessions, you are in for a definite treat today. Donna's career began back when DOS was the king of computer operating systems for the personal computer. Floppies were actually still floppy, and the internet had just begun to explode. And at that time in her career, there were no training companies. You either learned it on your own or went back to school to learn about all these new technologies yourself. And Donna did both. Her career in the corporate world started as an executive assistant. She worked in a programming department supporting a staff of programmers and the VP of IT. But that was just the beginning. Over time, she realized she had a real aptitude for learning software technologies and the ability to communicate to others in terms that everyone could understand. And her love of helping people, business, and technology made a great fit for her future career in training. So please join me in a warm virtual welcome for Donna Gilliland. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you, Julie. Hope everyone's excited to learn about styles, themes, and templates.
And I have to share, as we're switching screens here, that I got a preview of this when I was working on the resource guide for today's webinar, and Donna saved me hours and hours of editing time on that document. So you're in for a real treat today.
It's always good when we can save hours of time. And so we're going to get started, and I am going to start first with the styles overview, and we'll be looking at what styles are, how to apply them, modify them, include them in other documents, and then we will talk about the design ribbon and themes and colors and effects, what those are, and then a little bit about templates. So we'll get started. I'm on the home ribbon. And on the home ribbon is where your styles are. And as I point to the top here, you can see the styles gallery, and I'm expanding the styles gallery. So if you've never used the styles gallery, styles are simply one-click methods for you to apply multiple formats to whatever it is that you have selected. You know, in many years past, if we wanted to bold, italicize, to change the colors, the font, the size of the font, then those were multiple steps. And those are very common type styles that we apply to information. And so while some of these things are part of certain styles, there's even more within some styles than that. Some even include borders. So I'm going to start with this first one here, which is I have a document up, and I'm going to work with this first line of text, annual management meeting. So I'm just coming out to the left of the line so I can quickly select that line. And again, here from the home ribbon, the styles group, I want to apply a style to this information of title. And when you hover over a style in the styles gallery, you will receive a live preview of what that style would look like, so that if you don't want to use it, then you don't click, you move on to the next one that you think might suit you better. Also keep this in mind before I click, that while you may like many parts of a style, there may be some part of that style you don't like, and that's all changeable, and you'll learn that today. Now I do want this title style, and if you'll notice after I click, let me click out for you to see, it is an increased font size. It is a 26. And the font type is a Cambria, which is noted in the font group over to the left on the home ribbon. But part of this particular style also includes a border. So now you've got an abbreviated explanation of what styles are. So we want to carry that a lot a lot further. Let's start with the part of what to do if you wanted to modify an existing style. So in the Styles Gallery, in the top, you can see there is a box around title. If you right-click a style, and of course the box is there because that's your visual that that is the style that's currently applied. So when you right-click, which is one way to modify the style, you can see that there is an option to modify. Now, if I choose modify and I make any changes, we are modifying that style. Now, before I go through that process, keep in mind that if you don't want the actual style to be modified because you like to use it for most things the way it currently is, then what you could do is while your material, your text is selected, then you could, for example, if you didn't like the size of the font, then from the font group, take the font down to the size you want. If you don't like the typeface, the font style, then change it there. Doing it in the manual way means that you are not altering the style itself. But this method, me right-clicking, choosing modify, then I have the option to change the name of the title and to do other common things, for example, under formatting, where I can change the font style, the size, color, all these little things we're used to using, and then changing alignment, multitude of things just in this initial dialog box you're met with. Now, down below the preview box of this area, you do get more detail about what is actually within this particular style, which for us is the title style. And there is a scroll arrow here on the right within this Modify Style box. And I can scroll and I can see the different formats that are in the one style. Now, if you want to include this style in another document, you can, but take a look here at the bottom. The radio button only in this document is selected, where to the right there's one that says New Documents based upon this template. So I'm going to stop for just a second to make to clarify something in case if you're not aware of what is meant by based upon this template. Whenever you create a document for the first time, unless you created your document from a template that you have designed and that you are using, then the template that all our documents are created off of is called the normal template. And that is the global template that every document is based upon. It's the one that's got our default margins, left, right, top, bottom, the default font and spacing, etc. So you can choose to have a style be placed into all future new documents based upon whatever template that your document that you are in is based off of. Now, in this one, I'm going to leave it like it is. I'll be explaining this more a little bit later. But down below is a button that says Format. So from Format, you have the option for your font, your paragraph settings, tabs, borders, language, numbering, a lot of options. So right here in this one place, I can modify this style so that it has a different look than what it was designed by Microsoft to provide you. All from a right click and then making the changes to suit yourself. I'll go ahead and click on OK. I'm not going to make changes. Just know that you're just a right click away. So now, in the same Styles dialog, or gallery rather, in the Styles gallery, when you look just to the right of the Styles group, there's a small arrow in the lower right corner. And the name of that arrow is known as a dialog box launcher, but often it actually launches a pane sometimes rather than a dialog box. It depends upon what the tool is. In this case, we're working with the Styles tools. So when I click that arrow, you will receive a Styles pane. And the Styles pane comes in handy so that when you're working with a much larger document where styles have been applied throughout, then this can keep you visually abreast of what styles have been applied besides the Styles ribbon, which you might not even be on, when you're working within your document, maybe on something different. So right now, because I'm in the annual management meeting, I did apply the title style, then my pane on the left shows me through box form that this is the applied style. Now, since we are in the styles pane, this is an opportunity for you to learn more about why you want this pane open. So as I hover over title, and the reason why you would want to hover over a style versus click is the hovering process produces for you a box first that tells you what types of formats are in this style. But when you look to the right of this style, or any style that you are hovering over, there's a down arrow. When you choose the down arrow, you have an option, or actually you have several options. One of your options is to modify, which you saw moments ago, and I did that by right-clicking from within the style gallery to get to the modify box. This is another way to get to the same place. But other benefits for us is that if I have a 20-page document and I had utilized, say, a heading 1 style 25 different times throughout the document, I don't want to go through 25 different times and making changes, and which is why you have the option to select all. And select all is going to select every instance of information where that style's been applied. In this case, I only have one piece of information that title is applied to. And see, once it's selected all of the instances, then whatever changes I make from my ribbon, from formatting options, applies across the board throughout the document. So let's move on and make some more changes here. I know I would like for the internet travel, better team communication, and by the way, I'm using the control key to select these lines of text so that I don't deselect prior lines. So one more control and click, and I've got exploring childcare here on my 3 blocks of text or lines of text. I'm going back to the styles gallery, and I'll expand it to take a look at what we have. And as I look, there is an option for subtitle, and you can see on my screen what subtitle is giving you. Of course, we get blue. We are getting spacing, paragraph spacing, before and after, because a lot of your styles do include a before and after value for the spacing in a paragraph. And then we have one that says heading 1, heading 2, and there are multiple levels of headings. So I'm going to start with the heading 1 for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is that if you have a multi-page document and your plan is to have a table of contents for that document, when you apply heading 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 heading styles, those heading styles are what Microsoft Word looks for when you generate a table of contents. And anything with a heading 1 style will appear in your table of contents at the leftmost part of the left margin of your page. If you formatted anything with a heading 2, then heading 2 content would also appear in your automatically generated table of contents, and it would be indented up under any heading 1 topics. So see, that's a big bonus just right there in the use of these headings for purposes of the table of contents. Now today we won't cover table of contents because that can be a subject that's very in-depth, and we'll save that for another webinar. But you do need to have insight into why, beyond the aesthetics, that you would want to use a heading 1, 2, etc. Now I am going to use a heading 1 and see how this is selected, and look at the amount of space that's above each one of those lines of text, because this style has so much space above the paragraph spacing above that's built in to this heading. So you see, you might love everything about it except for that, and you could go back in and make that modification to the style. But just remember, if you don't want it to apply to the entire style, then you'll have to use your regular tools. For example, I went within the home ribbon to the paragraph group, In the lower right corner is the dialog box launcher arrow, and when I click, then this is where I could come to change my spacing before value. I've got everything selected, and the spacing before value for this style of heading 1 is to give you a 24-point before value. And to give you some perspective as a side note, whenever we press the Enter key in a document and we get a full line return, it's measured in points, and a full line return is 12 points, 12 PT. So when you see that this before value is a 24, that gives you perspective about how much spacing we've got. So it's like 2 times pressing the Enter key is what it results in. And then on the right-hand side, it tells you what the spacing is. It's set to multiple at 1.15. So I hope you get the idea. Change it manually without changing the style. So you picked up several things on that. So now let me come back over to the Styles pane, remembering that I launched the pane from the Styles group with the arrow in the lower right corner. So now that the pane is there, it is still showing that heading 1 is what's applied so far. And from here, if I click the down arrow, if these instances weren't already selected, in fact, let me deselect everything. Down arrow again for heading 1. And notice that it says select all 3 instances. And if I had this 20 times throughout a multi-page document, then that's what it would say. And I'm going to choose select all 3 instances. They'll all be selected, and whatever change I make applies to all of them. So I hope that makes sense to you. Now there's also an option here that says update heading 1 to match a selection. So if I made any changes to let's say I made a change to the internet and travel, and I were to change the color, change the font, well, it's currently using heading 1. So whatever I manually do to make a change to the look of that, and I come back to my heading 1, click the down arrow, and I choose that option, update heading 1 to match the selection, what you are saying, or what you are giving permission to happen, is that heading 1 take on all the formatting attributes that you personally applied to that material that you first applied a heading 1 to. So it would update the heading all at one time, which would then in turn update anything else that was using heading 1. All right, so I'm going to leave that topic for a moment, and hopefully that makes sense to you so far. Now, as you look at this Styles pane, down at the bottom of the Styles pane, you have 3 buttons, icons, and one of them is a new style. Now, we won't spend a lot of time on you creating a new style, but you at least need to know the basics of a new style. The new style enables you to create a set of formats into a one-click style of your own. So here it always starts with a generic name of style 1, and you would want to name that whatever you thought was best describe the purpose of that heading. So I might call this one signature block. And you have the option of applying this style as to a paragraph, to a character, and when we say character, we are talking about as in maybe a letter, the W in Word, and whether or not this is going to apply to a table or a list. But we can't get that in depth today because of your time, but know that you're learning to create your own style, which would then go in the gallery. So then the style says style based on heading 1, and that's because I'm on something that I own text that already has a heading 1. If you look back behind this box, you can see that I have something selected already. So if your intent is not to base what you're creating off of the formats that are in a style applied to text you've selected, then you wouldn't want to have anything selected. Or if you did by accident, you could always choose the down arrow, and you could choose whether or not you want to base it off of the normal style, that's your template, and then create your your format the way you want it. For example, formatting right now is for Calibri, for body, and I can change that. And I'm going to change mine to an Arial and to 12, and you get the idea. And then of course I could go to format at the bottom and make more additions if I like. But never forget that when you're creating a style for your specific use, for example, I teach to a couple of law firms and they're very much about styles. Their documents have to be formatted in a very specific way. So they have many galleries of styles. They do want those styles to be shared or be available in any legal document they create. So when you're creating a new one, down at the bottom of the dialog box where you're working on the creation of a new one, you can see that there's the radio button only in this document. So if you want it to be available to new documents based upon this template, and I'm working in the normal template, then be sure to select that radio button so that the next time you create a new document, your style, in my case called signature block, would be in your styles gallery. Although a little bit later, you're going to learn how, if you were to, say, inherit a document from someone, and within that document, they had created very customized styles, like in the case of my 2 law firm customers, and which they often inherit or sent documents from other sources, from people who were the creator of them. They didn't create them, and you wanted to get those into your document. We're going to learn how to do that shortly. So I'm going to choose new documents based upon this template and give it the OK. And of course you can see the change because I made these format changes while this material, this text, was selected. And if you look at my styles pane again, you can see that I do have a style now called signature block. Let me expand the gallery for it too. All right. So I hope your comfort level is good so far with what we're going over. I'm going to change that back to a heading 1. So now other things with this styles pane, going back to your icons in the styles pane, you also have a button that says Style Inspector. When you choose Style Inspector, you will see a dialog box to the left, and right now it's showing heading 1 because that's what I have selected in styles, and it tells me different things about the heading, the text level formatting, whether it's for a paragraph or a character, and the buttons beside them, or icons, are for you to clear the formatting that is in this specific style. So that's just more for you to have an overview, not a real in-depth look into the styles inspector. Because what I want for you, this is your objective for this piece that I'm covering now, before we move on to the next part. Your learning objective here is, 1, to understand what styles are, 2, to understand how to modify them so that when applied later, they function the way you want them to, and to have a clear understanding that you don't have to alter a style you've used in the library when you can apply that style and then just go back and do some manual changing of that, and then why you want to use the styles gallery. So the styles gallery, we can see what headings we're using. When we're on text, I'm going to click on the internet and travel. It does show me that that's a heading 1, and I'm going to choose seminar schedule, and I am going to choose that that is a subtitle. And so see, wherever I click, this style box is keeping me abreast of what styles, if any, are in use. And right now, where I'm at is utilizing the styles that are part of normal. All right, now let's do this. Since we're on this topic of styles, I think now's a good time for you to learn how that you can take styles from a document that you never save to the global template and share them either into a document you have open and or share them to the global template so they're always available to any document. And this has to be done with the backstage view, which you get to from the File tab. Now I'm working with Word 2013, and this applies if you are working with 2010. We're going to be working with a feature called the Organizer, and it got placed in a different location in 2013. But from the File tab, I need to go to Options. Now once you get to Options, what you're interested in are the add-ins. So from the categories on the left, you want add-ins. Now once you get to add-ins, you're presented with a large box with add-ins that are already there, but you want to look down further to an area that says Manage, which will be set to COM add-ins. We want to change that. Click the down arrow, and I'm going to choose Templates, and then we would click Go. Now when you click Go, up pops the Templates and Add-ins dialog box. Now the part that we need to focus on is how can I get some these styles from one document to another, or to the global template called Normal. When you look down at the very left lower corner, look for the button Organizer. That's what we need. So we had to go, a couple of levels deep just to get to the Organizer. So take a really close look at your Organizer's dialog box. On the left, top left, there are two tabs, and the one that we're focusing on today would be for styles. So when you look at styles, what Word's going to do is whatever document you're in, the document that's listed, that is listed in this pane on the left is the document you are active in. So I'm active in the file called Management 6-1. And then down below, I am shown all the styles that are part of that document. And then by default, Word will always list as the second document your normal template. And that's why on the right it says in normal and shows you what is in the normal template that documents are based off of. Before I go further with that, keep in mind that you can only have up to 2 documents listed in these panes. So if I had one document, like I do now, that has what I need to copy, I would then also need to have the document open that I want to copy to. And if you look at the bottom of each of these 2 panes, there is a button for Close File for each of those. So you can close down one and reopen and activate a different one that you want to be the destination for copying. So let's get started. We're going to put these into, or I'm going to put mine into the normal template. So here we are in Management 6, and there's that signature block I created. Now moments ago when I was demonstrating, I had already chosen the option for this to go to normal, and that's why you see it in the normal list on my screen here. I had already done that. But I'm going to, let me go ahead and I'll remove it from here. I'm going to choose from normal, signature block, delete, and yes. And now working on the preface, you had not done that. I'm in this document management. There's that signature block I created. You would click on that style, and then to the right in the middle, you have the option to copy it, delete it, or rename it. Our goal is copy it over here to the global template normal. So I'll choose copy. And there it is. There's my signature block. And when you look below, it says styles available in, and the name of your global template that Word operates off of is normal.totm. And so you'll be using the organizer to do that. So I'll go ahead and click close. And then I've copied that. So just remember in the future, if you inherit a document from someone and it's got all these great styles and you need them to be available to a specific document, or to all future documents, you've got to get into the organizer. So a quick recap of that was File, Options, Categories on the left, Add-ins, and it all began with the Manage option, and we started with Templates and chose Go. And Organizer, bottom left. All right, so I'm going to leave the topic of styles, and we're going to move into using the colors, fonts, and effects feature. This document we're working on has applied styles already, and in this document I put in the beginnings of an organizational chart, which I got to through SmartArt. And of course, you're not learning about SmartArt today, but we'll have to do a webinar for that one. But here's the SmartArt. We need it for our example. As you can see throughout this document, when we're using these styles, the default colors of the style, it's called the office style. Lots of blues and grays and whites are utilized in the default office theme. Now, if you go to the design ribbon, and the design ribbon came into play, by the way, at Office 2013. Microsoft decided to take a lot of the tools that we use in designing a document and place them on the design ribbon. So if you're working with a lower version of Word, you're going to find the colors, fonts, themes. See, if you look at my ribbon, themes is over here on the left, and to the far right is colors and fonts. And in the lower versions, beginning below Office 2013, that was on your page layout ribbon. So they rethought it, and I think it's a great rethinking and restructuring to put everything we needed for design pretty much on this one ribbon. So let's talk themes then. And before I do that, I want to pop back to home so you can see. I want you to take this quick look at the Styles Gallery and notice the coloring. All right, that's going to be significant to you here in a moment. Now I'm back to design, and we're going to start with themes on the left. When you choose themes, themes allow you to work with color combinations for your document. For example, if I choose the one that says integral, look at my screen and you can see the change in the color, but that's not all you see. You're seeing font changes as well. Let me do another one here. This one is called Slice. Again, looking at my screen and seeing that there is change in color and there is change in font style. This one is called Bases. So if you wanted to take a one-click route to designing the look of your document, then the themes could be very useful. I'll expand. You see there's so many here. Now you may not have as many as me depending upon what version that you're working with. Right now I'm going to go with this one. I'm not wild about this one, but I'm already here, so I'm going to choose Celestial. And I'm going to go back to the Home ribbon because I had you take a look at Styles moments ago. So I'm back on Styles. Take a look. See anything different? When you pick a theme, then the styles correspond to the color combinations that are being used, down to the fonts that are being used. And when you look at my styles pane on the right, you can see that's in place. So I'll head back to the design ribbon. And now, as far as the themes go, going further from that, there is an option to reset your theme from the template. So in my case, I'm working off the normal template, and I could just reset it to what I had before. Then there is the option to browse for more themes out on the web. We're not going there today. And there is an option to save a current theme that you may have created or changed, and you can save it it goes into the Templates Document Themes library by default, so I could name it. Let me go back to themes for a moment. If you right-click a theme, you have the option to add it to the gallery, to the Quick Access toolbar. Your Quick Access toolbar is in the very top of your screen unless you've moved it to below the ribbon. Right, so now you know what themes are. It affects the entire document, and it also affects the document formatting group. If you've never used this group, the document formatting, you can see there is this large library, and it's called document formatting because when you choose one of these options from the document formatting gallery, you are changing the look of your entire document. So let me hover over a few so you can see. For example, here is one, and you can see that it's changing just the whole look of your document. This one's called black and white, capitalized. This one is called, let's see, basic simple. And you can see my document changing. And this one's called Word 2013 black and white. So this changes your entire document all in one sweep. But the colors being utilized are dictated by what you changed your theme to be. Because if you hadn't changed the theme, it'd operate off of standard blue, white, grays, among other colors. So let's scroll down for a moment. Now look at my Smart Art, the beginnings of that organizational chart. See, it even affects your objects such as Smart Art and shapes that you might insert. Now when you look to the far right of this document formatting gallery, there is a button for colors. Now I have one I created already called Most Training, but let's talk first about why you have this large list of colors and how they work. The library of colors, each set of colors, and they're named, the Office set is your default set. It's the one that's in place for all your documents. But every set has a total of, let's see, 3, 6, yes, 8 colors. Each one has a set of 8 colors. Now, the 8 colors control various aspects of your document. For example, when you type a hyperlink, let me do one real quick so you can see. I'm going to put in all things admin. Now you see that Julie's website link in this document has changed to purple, where we're used to our hyperlinks being blue. And they are if you're using the standard theme, and so unless you've changed it, it will always be blue. But the point is, out of those 8 colors, 2 of the colors control the color of your hyperlink. And for example, there would be the color for the hyperlink itself. You see Julie's is now purple, based upon the theme I used. If you received this document, you clicked the link and it went out to Julie's site. When you came back into the document, the color of the link would be different because it would be a followed link at that time. To give you some perspective, when you're out on the web and you click a link, most times it is initially blue. You click, you come back, and it turns a different color to indicate that you have followed that link. So out of these 8 colors, you can customize what color a hyperlink and a followed hyperlink should be. And another example of the 8 colors is that if you were to put in a chart in this document, like an Excel chart, the colors of the columns of that column chart will be dictated by the color that's in your chosen theme. So I'm going to hover over another one of these. Now there are other great benefits about the color combinations. Now if you're like me, some of you may be, when I create documents, I will create certain parts as a Word report. Then I may be creating an Excel document that goes with the report. And I might be creating a PowerPoint presentation that pulls all that together. So I want a cohesive look across all documents. So if you see, if you use one of these office themes that you're seeing right now, these colors, rather, these colored themes, they are in Microsoft Excel. They're in your PowerPoint. So if I choose the theme Blue Warm, the color theme Blue Warm, and again, I'm in Office 2013, so you might not have a Blue Warm, but you will have these color themes. Then I'm going to have Blue Warm available to me in Excel and in PowerPoint. And if you created one of your own, because you might want to create a theme that is utilizing your company's brand colors, you can create your own. Let me go ahead and choose one that's already here so you can see the change. Now, going back to the colors, again, I'm on the design ribbon, going back to colors. If you come down after having applied a theme and you choose Customize Colors, you're going to receive a dialog box that says Custom New Theme Colors. What's in place are all the colors for what you had previously selected, so you can use it as your base to create your own theme. And from here, down at the bottom, it says Name a Custom One. So you would type whatever you wanted it to be. Then, as you look at these colors, to the right you see a sample. So here it says that this particular one I'm operating off of has a text. It's going to work with text and background. Dark one is set to black. Now, if I change that, I'm going to change it to something really wild, just so you can see. I changed it to purple. Now, if you look over here in the sample, it shows me the word text, and it shows me that text would be in purple because that's what I had chosen. I'm going to change my back to automatic, which gives us the default black. Then down below, other things, for example, there's the accent 1, 2, 3, all the way through 6. Take a look at the chart. There's a sample of the chart. And the reason why you have these samples is that you need a visual of what your change is going to impact if you have one of these elements within your document, like a chart or a shape or text or hyperlinks. So here, this one on mine is an accent of, looks like orange to me. I'm going to click the down arrow and I'm going to choose a blue. Now look at my sample again. It shows me that if I had any shapes, circles, rectangles, other types of shapes, it's going to impact that. And then it shows me in the chart that if I had a column chart or some type of chart, it would change one of the colors in that. So you would go through and you would design the color combination that works for your custom theme, whatever its purpose is for, which might be, branding. There's also the option to reset everything back when you're doing all this experimenting. But right now, this is going to result in a brand new theme. I'm going to save it. And then if you look back up at my screen and we look back to colors, there are my two customs. The one I did earlier today, most training, and there's one for all things admin. So all the ones that you build custom will appear just above the office group. And then, of course, I have it available to me in my other programs. So you don't have to recreate all of this, which I'm always glad for that, and I don't have to recreate. Then next door to it is fonts. Now, I'm going to go back to the beginning of the document for you. A little tip about fonts is a design tip, and then on to why you want to use the fonts. In proper design of a document, whether this be in Word or whether it be in Excel or whether it be in your PowerPoint presentations, proper design when it comes to fonts is, the rule of thumb is that you should stick to no more than 2 font styles and a maximum of 3. So designers say that if you're going to incorporate a 3rd font, it should be to emphasize something, like maybe an italicized or a bold. So the the rule of thumb is primary headings, you should decide on what font primary headings should be, and then decide on what you want secondary headings to be. Because you've probably seen documents like I have, where you're not quite sure the rhyme or reason that was used for all those fonts we see in a document. And now with that said, all these design features that Microsoft gave us helps us to design our documents to look like a designer created them, but we don't have to be a designer to create them. We just have to know these features. So now, if I hover over, the Calibri, you can see that the word bold Calibri over in the list is the name of the font option. And then beneath it, it shows you the two fonts it's going to use, or if it's using the same font, it'll show you what the variation will be of the font. Now, if I come on down, let's looking for one that had more than one font. Just know that when you, like, here's one that says that the name of this font group is Arial Times New Roman, appropriately named because it's utilizing an Arial and a Times New Roman. So you see there's a reason why, as described before, that we're not seeing more than two different fonts in some of these choices. And then when you're hovering over these, you can see on my screen that the change is happening based upon what I choose. And what, even down to the, to the body. So let me get back to that one. I'm going to choose Arial Times New Roman. So now you know about colors, what it impacts, fonts, and then there is an option called effects. And I'm coming down to the Smart Art so you can see that. When you look at effects, effects will apply to shapes. It applies to Smart Art. It is to give you a textual difference in the look. So this isn't for text, it's for objects. And right now I'm on a Smart Art object. And as you look at my effects drop down, there's one here in mine that says milk glass. Now look back at my Smart Art boxes and you can see there is a distinct change in how the boxes look. Let's see, let me go to a different one. Here's one that says grunge texture. And I'm so not a fan of that one, but you might be. But you get the idea that this is to change or give you a little bit of an enhancement, and you choose the one that you think would look well on the object that it's going to apply to. So don't forget, effects are applicable to objects like Smart Art and to the insertion of shapes, just to mention a couple. So wow, don't you have a lot to choose from in making your document look good. Right now, the next thing we're going to move on to are templates. After this session, there's no reason for you not to have a great looking document in just a few clicks. Now, as far as templates go, the basics of those, excuse my voice today, allergies have kicked in. A template, by definition, if you're not familiar, is a model that we want to operate off of all the time. For example, there may be certain documents that you want it to utilize a certain font, a certain left, right, top, bottom margin, just to mention a few things, a specific header and or footer, maybe even certain styles. So you may have created your own unique styles because you learned moments ago in the styles pane as one method to get to this that you have a button to create a new style. And that unless you specified that it be in the normal template, it's only part of this document. So you would set up everything the way you wanted it to look. So I'm going to go to a new document here. and you would begin that process of whatever the need is. You know, page layout to change the margins, orientation, size of paper. I won't make all these changes because I want to make sure we get the topic covered, but you get the idea. And then any styles that you would create. And then from there, if you were utilizing one of these document formatting designs, you could choose that. And the color theme you want it to operate under. So when you've got it complete, the document may not necessarily contain text, you just may want it to contain all the formats, but it could certainly contain standard text that will never change. Once you have everything the way you want it, it's time to save it as a template. So to save as a template would be to go to the File tab. If you are working with Office 2007, you do not have a File tab. You have what's called the Office button, which is the large circle in the upper left corner that holds the Microsoft logo, and from there you could get to Save As. Or you may have Save As on your Quick Access toolbar if you're working with newer versions of Word. So now I'm on the File tab, and then in the categories on the left is Save As. When you choose Save As, of course you're going to have to choose where you're going to save that document. And then down at the bottom it says Word Document. Of course you would give your document a title. Doesn't have to hold the name template. That's for my personal use. Then you want to change from a Word document to a template, and there is an option that says Word Template. Now, without going too very deep, there's also an option that says Word Macro Enabled Document, because some people will build template forms where people can key in information only in the fields that are allowed. And so if you were creating that type of template and you had built macros within them to execute certain things automatically, then we would save it as a macro-enabled document or template, a macro-enabled template. This is just a standard template, Word template, and I've stored it, and there it is. So now I click Save, and it does tell me at the top, it says Proposal Template. I'm going to close that file, because when the time comes that you want to make use of a template that you have created or one that's in the default locations that Microsoft has in a Word file in the Word program, go to the File tab and you would choose New. Now when you choose New, now I'm in Office 2013. If you're in Office 2010, you've got a very similar look. There are featured, and then there are the personal. If I choose personal, anything that I've created will show up in this personal list. And then here's one that I had created called Most Social Proposal. It's for another division of the company. And then here's the one I created moments ago, Proposal Template. So you would simply double-click to open that document, and all the settings that you have applied are retained in that template. Now, if your goal is to work with templates that come with Microsoft, when you initially come to New, you have the featured and the personal as mentioned moments ago, and you have all of these different pre-built templates that you could use for newsletters, for flyers, for business cards, for any number of things. And these templates have certain pictures already and formats, and again, just like your own template, it's a matter of double-clicking what you want to start operating off of. For example, here's one that is for a certificate, and I'll just double-click. Of course, this one has to download because it's coming off of the web, and then you would fill in the blanks. Okay, I'm going to save that. Now, you've covered a lot. You've covered styles, you've covered the design ribbon, all the way from themes through the document formatting options to colors to fonts to effects, even down to creating your own custom colors. And we covered styles from the home ribbon, utilizing them, and then also modifying them or creating one of your own. And we're at top of the hour, and so I hope that in your 60-minute crash course that you've picked up something that you can use that you didn't know before in order to design better documents and do them much quicker than you were able to do them before.
Wow, Donna, that was fantastic. I think I'm going to have to stop calling myself a power user of Word until I've mastered what you just covered today, because I didn't even know half of these features existed. I knew there were some of those capabilities, but I had no idea the level and the depth at which you could customize and modify these things to make them your own. So this has been fantastic.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
All right. Well, we are at the top of the hour, but we have time for a few quick questions if anybody has some they'd like to ask. You did a very thorough job, though, Donna, so even some of the questions that I had written down, you've already answered. So.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So if you'd like to ask a question, you can type your question in the question box on the right-hand side of your screen on the web panel, and we can field those for you here while we have a couple of minutes left with Donna today. Or if you think of something after you take this back to your desk and start to apply it, you can certainly connect with Donna on the various social media sites or through email, and all of that contact information is included in the resource handout that we have provided for you. Donna is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Pinterest, and you can also find her website at mosttraining.com, and that's M-O-S training.com. So I am checking here to see if we have some questions. We do have one. It comes from Kelly, and she says, is there a particular order that should be used? And Kelly, we might need a little more clarification on that. Are you talking about if we should use a style or a theme or a template, or what you're looking for there? So if you can clarify that for us real quick, Kelly, we'll get a little more specific. Okay.
Well, I can attempt to maybe, do you have another question after Kelly's, or I can attempt to answer what I think Kelly means, but
she just says, is there a particular order that should be used regarding page layout, styles, format, colors?
Oh, that's a good question. It's a good question. As far as order, it isn't an order as much as it is meeting a specific need. And I'll try to make that a simple explanation. For example, we started with styles. So when you have applied styles to your text, I guess really in that instance, as I rethink that starting with styles is a good start point first, because when you make these other changes, for example, if I go over to design and I were to change the font, I choose one of the pre-builts or one of the pre-built themes, then the program is looking at all material that a style has been applied to. So if that's what you mean, I would start first with styles, because then everything else is going to feed or apply to that, because that's what's being changed. And then the second piece to that is being aware again that once you pick a different theme, as a for example, then your styles, when you go back and go to use them again, the styles are utilizing that new theme that you've chosen. Hope that makes sense.
I think so. All right, I'm just looking here. We don't have any other questions that have popped up yet. I'll give you just another few seconds here. If you have something you wanted to ask quick while we still have Donna live on the line, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, as I mentioned, we will send the replay of today's webinar so that if there are specific sections that you would like to watch again as you take this back to your desk and work on implementing it, you can do that, and that usually is sent out within 24 to 48 hours of the live broadcast, so you can watch your email for that. And the other thing I wanted to mention, as with any crash course, our goal today was to arm you with the tools and strategies to take back to your computer and implement what you learn. But I can tell you from personal experience that it does take a commitment to implementation. And sometimes it means the first time you use some of these strategies, it may take you a little bit longer to work through the process. But I have learned, and yesterday was a great example of this, as Donna gave me a quick crash course on using styles to format my resource document for today's webinar, that once you figure it out and you've spent a few minutes practicing what you've learned, it is something you'll be able to use over and over and over again, and it doesn't take nearly as much time the next time, and once it becomes habit, it's just something that you do automatically. So we encourage you to give as many of these tips and pointers a try when you get back to your desk as you possibly can, and that way, as you begin to start using them in your daily work, they just become part of what you do and not something that you have to think about and focus on. So we do have one more quick question for you, Donna. It comes from Peg. She says, will these styles transfer over to PowerPoint for headings and subheadings?
Okay, the styles aren't, I think I understand what she's asking. In other words, you're in a Word document, you've got these styles and transfer to PowerPoint. Have to keep in mind that PowerPoint works with a different set of designs. And so let me give you an example. Earlier when we were working with the design and I was working with the colors. Now, of the things that do transfer across the board with these other programs is that colors are one of those that all these color themes are available in your PowerPoint. And then if I create a custom theme, then it's also going to be available. Even though I didn't create it in PowerPoint, these themes actually go across the board. In fact, if I'm going to bring up a PowerPoint, let's see. Let me bring up a PowerPoint. Maybe this will be quick. I am game to check and see. You know I'm always game. And we can be looking at other questions while I'm bringing this up. I'm just going to bring up a blank presentation. And I use Camtasia to record, so Camtasia's brought up a PowerPoint here. Let's see here. So I'm going to select this text. So just notice that I've selected text in my PowerPoint slide. And as you look, your options are, they're different. Here on the home ribbon, my home ribbon options, they're different than the options I have on the home, to some degree, than I do, say, in Word. And when I look here, I have quick style options. This has nothing to do with text, which I think is your question. So if I go to design, then with design, what I have are themes that are unique to PowerPoint. But you can see my options, while some are the same as they are in Word, others are not. So you see, I don't even have a styles gallery like we do in Word. I think that's what you're asking.
So if we wanted to apply one of those custom color, I can't remember the right terminology, but styles that you had created in Word, how would we access that in PowerPoint?
To access the style?
Correct.
Now, I'm not certain that we can, so I'll double check for us. I don't think that we can do it the same way that we do it in Word. I may have to come up with a different way. I understand what you're asking, because you're saying, hey, I had this beautiful style with font and size and color, and I love it, and I want to use it on my text in PowerPoint.
Or even like the 8, where it lets you choose the 8 colors and what it does for like a hyperlink before it's been clicked or after it's been clicked. Is that color palette that we've developed or created in Word, is that usable or visible within PowerPoint?
Yes, you can use that in PowerPoint as well. So those things come across. I think that's what you're wanting to know.
Yes.
I hope.
So where do you see that at, or how do you view that in PowerPoint?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to it in my Office 13 now. My luck will be that it's been placed something differently on my Office 13 ribbon. Because if you're working with a lower version, it's on the page layout ribbon in your lower versions.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So yeah, and so I'm just looking to see if they changed it, and I can't locate it. But you know I'll get it for you. Yeah, I was going to say I'm not seeing it. But I'm not saying we don't have it. I'm saying I'm obviously overlooking it on my 2013. Just so the audience knows, I've just gone to Office 365 over the past few months, and some things are parked in a little bit different place.
Well, I've just done the same thing, and I am very familiar with your new challenge in finding it. So it's there, and I think I've seen it somewhere before too, but I can't tell you where. So we'll find it, and we will let you know when we.
Oh, here we go. I found it.
There it is.
I found it. It was like the salt in the catnip. All right, so I'm sorry, everyone who's watching in and probably developing a nervous twitch from this. When I've got the text selected, and of course, I'm in a text box, so as a result, I'm going to click out so you can see. Now, I'm going to click it back in. I've got it selected, and I'm on the Drawing Tools ribbon. Design here. See, I'm actually on Design. Let me clarify. I'm on the Design ribbon, and the Design ribbon has the themes that control the font look, the color combinations, that kind of thing. But then over to the far right, there is a group that says Variants. But when I look at it initially, it sort of throws you off because there's nothing there right now. But when you click the down arrow for the Variants, that's when you see your colors. And see, now when I hover over colors, I see my custom All Things Admin and my most training.
Perfect.
Is that what you wanted to know?
I think that answers the question.
And see, here are your fonts, here are your effects, just like we have, but you can see that things are placed a little bit differently in the PowerPoint than they are in your Word. And that while there are there's a lot of overlapping, you have the same thing, some things you don't, but you definitely have that for the colors, fonts, and effects.
Excellent. Well, I think that answers all of the questions. So with that, we will close our Q&A for this session. And as we wrap things up today, I want to thank each of you for investing your time and energy to join us for today's webinar. That concludes this presentation. Thanks again for participating, and we look forward to seeing you in class again very soon. Have a productive afternoon, everyone.